Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another live show, Live She Knows Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video and subscribing to the channel and getting into the chat and letting me know how you guys are thinking and feeling, where are you watching in from, and all of that. On today's show, we're going to be mostly talking about something that came up on the timeline over the last couple of days in light of Pep Guardiola basically saying that he's closer to leaving than staying, and reports coming out that he wants to he's going to leave in 2025. A lot of Arsenal fans were obviously rejoicing at that. The reign of terror is over, we just have to wait a year. But some other Arsenal fans were saying, off of the back of that news, that Arteta needed to win the Premier League while Pep was here. And I found that to be a little bit interesting because I was like, that's not even something that I was really thinking about. Like, I just thinking about he needs to leave. But what is the significance of him having to win it while Pep is here? And so I wanted to chit chat about that and maybe some early expectations for next season. Where are we at with Mikel Arteta? He's also said to be in advanced talks for a new long-term deal. So I do think this is a good time to get some thoughts on where we're at, with the manager. Another season where we went trophyless. Some people feel like going trophyless makes sense because we're focusing on the Premier League. Other Gooners are, I think, exhausted of just going through seasons without actually accomplishing anything tangible. And so we're going to talk about it. And that's going to be the main bit of the chat for today. Some headlines before we get into the main part of our conversation, and also before I see who's all in here, is that Arsenal are ready to potentially walk away from a deal for Zubimendi. We've spoken about Zubimendi a lot on the channel. He was said to be Arteta's number one option, and that doesn't seem to be coming to fruition. So now Arsenal are looking at alternatives, and those alternatives are Amadou Onana, João Neves, and Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle. So that's out there. Arsenal manager Mikel has also been named as the Globe Soccer best coach in the Premier League in an award ceremony in Italy, which was kind of cool. And I'll also show you guys the little clip of him speaking in a second. And like I said before, he's in advanced negotiations around a new contract. I think his current one expires in a year, so Arsenal under this new regime has been very kind of desperate to continue to keep people on these healthy contracts and not letting them run down. And so I'm not surprised that Arteta is getting a new deal, but I do think there's still an undercurrent of where are we going with this? He, next season will be his fifth full season. Where are we going with this? We've spoken about this before. Are we actually giving him new contracts because of what he's achieving? Or is it just, because that's just what we do? So those conversations continuously come up. Now, before we get into everything, let's see what you guys are thinking. And who's all in here. Afsar says hello. Hello to you as well. Junior says, hey, Jess. Hello to you, Junior. Sisanke says hello. Hello to you as well. DS says, hey, Jess. Are you from Jamaica? Are you saying I'm from Jamaica or are you from Jamaica? Let me know. Blaze says, hi, Jess. How are you doing? I'm doing well. I am just trying to get everything set up. A couple of days ago, you saw that this bed had so much stuff on it that it was embarrassing. So I moved everything around. Oh, that's where you're from. That's where you're watching from, Jamaica. I got it now because I asked you guys, duh. And so this bed is not even going to be here. I'm trying to get a company to come out and get rid of this bed, and then there won't be this bed anymore. And so this whole space will be just an office space. And then from there, I'm going to paint that back wall black. I'm going to push everything back and we'll have a cool little background and all this kind of stuff. But as of now, we just have this bed that will not be here hopefully soon. Melanie says, and who in no Arteta is in demand. He's going nowhere. Not true. Pep, yes. Let me read this again. Get who in. No Arteta is in demand. He's going nowhere. That's not true. Pep, yes. Sam says, hey, Jess, these videos are the highlight of my day. Oh, that's great. By the way, did you watch the song by Spices and KG? It was so brutal and funny. One thing I will never accept is the other fan bases, Chelsea, like Man United, whatever. I will accept their banter, but I'll never accept banter from a Spurs fan. I'm sorry. It's just laughable. Like, there's no reason why you should be talking like at all. The highlight of your season is always based around what we're doing. And so, and you never do anything. You know, it went from Ange is in the title race, Ange is going to change our lives, Ange is going to do this, to them fucking turning on him and Ange out. So I'm not listening. Like, you would talk about winning a trophy. When's the last time you guys won anything? I think the last time they won something was in 2008, and it was a Karabuki Cup. Like, come on, let's be serious. But listen, those two guys are funny, and their whole life has been hate Arsenal all season. So they got what they wanted. Tyrone says, morning time, morning to you as well. Tyrone is saying, watching from Grenada in the West Indies. That's awesome. LJM says, no doubt Arteta wants a Man City job. Tariq says, great content, just keep it up. Does anybody really think, like, I don't actually really think, like, I don't know, like, maybe I'm deluded. I just don't think that Man City are looking at Mikel. And I don't think Mikel is looking anywhere else. Maybe he would take the Man City job. It'd be very interesting to see, like, what Arsenal would have lined up if such things would happen. I just don't think Arsenal are ever going to do the thing. Like, I think they're under this regime, it's always going to be about getting somebody that can arrive rather than somebody that's already arrived. Like, the players that we bring in, the manager that we brought in, it's all about this young project where it's kind of like people get up to that level. And so, like, the idea of if, Mikel left, we would end up with, I don't know, some older, more proven manager. I just don't think that would ever happen. And so we've put in the legwork with Mikel. I'd rather us just like stick with him and like get it done. Cause like going through this with another manager, for me, I don't know if I have another one in me. I really don't know. I really don't know. Eddie says we're going to win it next season. Believe Arteta. Let's see. Eddie says we're going to win it next season. Believe Arteta. Oh yeah, we just said that. Shamaria says facts. That was so shameless from Burmy says Arteta seems committed to Arsenal and he appears motivated to achieve great things with this team. And that's why I don't really see anything happening with Mikel. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm really struggling to see like him leaving like anytime soon, to be honest. And Yo-Yo says Arsenal is a developmental club. So also, guys, remember that the first classic watch along is tomorrow, the 30th at 8 p.m. UK time. We will do the show and then I'll drag you guys across. But if you guys want to go ahead and RSVP now or sign up, you guys can do that. I put the link in the chat, but also it is pinned it's in the description box. It's very simple. You just click on the link, put in your email address, and then use code Jessica and you are RSVP'd for it. I can also, once again, kind of like show you guys like what it looks like so it doesn't look foreign to you. We do all of our watch alongs on Chino's Arsenal on TIFO. We're working together with them to kind of like create like a new program for watch alongs. So this is what it'll look like when you click on the link. And as it says here, 1 day, 2 hours, 47 minutes. It won't say start watch along for you. It'll say join watch along or sign up for watch along or whatever. And so this is what you will kind of see. And so don't be alarmed. It's not Sorry, guys. I don't know what happened there. I'm back. I'm back. It was like the internet just like left me for a second. It's actually been happening all morning, weirdly. Um, so yeah. It's like if it's not the camera, it's the internet. It's just like if that happens again, just know I'll be back in like a second. Um, but it's like it goes off for like just a second. And it's so freaking annoying. But like I was saying, classic watch along tomorrow. We'll do that at 8 p.m. UK time. Make sure you guys are there. Make sure you guys RSVP. We're watching the 2020 FA Cup final, which we won. And so it'll be fun to kind of like be nostalgic, have a little bit of popcorn, chit chat, shoot the shit, all that kind of stuff. So yeah. And David is a new member of the channel. Thank you so much for joining the channel. And I hope you like the content. We are going hard all summer long, transfer rumors, all that kind of stuff. So it's a good time to join. This is where things get very interesting here on She Knows Arsenal. So yeah, let's see. Let's get into the mess. Let's actually start off with Mikel speaking at this award ceremony that he was at, because it's always funny. And Mikel is so serious all the time. But I'll go ahead and share that with you guys, and that will kind of like lead us into the conversation.
Mikel, congratulations to you. A few words, if we can. Congratulations, another extraordinary season. So close. Not going to ask you about the season specifically, but more the progress, the improvement of Arsenal under your tutelage, under your management in recent years. How proud are you?
Well, good evening to everybody. Yeah, I feel extremely proud because when I decided to stop my career as a football player, I thought that all the joy and the best moments of football were gone, and I was totally wrong. Because when I started my coaching and managerial career, I'm loving it even more. I feel so passionate about it, and I have to thank all the players, the coaching staff, and everybody involved at the football club to make my days so enjoyable, so inspiring, and for supporting me in this journey that we started 4 years ago, that hopefully is going to take us right to the top to win many trophies.
I feel a bit nervous asking the next question. You know, the season itself has just come to a conclusion. The dust has just settled as well. But a lot of people looking to a new season and new challenges. So what next for Arsenal?
Win. Win, win, and win. That's what we want. We built for a few years right now. We have a team that is full of enthusiasm and so hungry to win trophies. We know the competition, but we believe we can do it, so we're going to give it a real go.
We'll certainly be.
Win, win, win. Win, win, win. That is what Mikel said. That is the next step for Arsenal, or what's the next step for us this season. And that's where we are. We're in our win now era now. There's no more building or whatever. Technically, we've been in it for 2 seasons. Like this season, we should have probably won something, if not just like a domestic cup. Every single season, Arsenal should be aiming to win a trophy. And I've always been somebody that's been almost like, I just want a trophy. I'm not really like, I think some people say like it has to be, there's 2 different ways. People will say like it has to be the Premier League or the Champions League. And I think there's one side that says that because they know it's so difficult to win those that they can be in a constant state of negativity. Because saying that the manager has to win the Premier League or the Champions League or get out is a little bit like, but there is context around that where a manager probably shouldn't be sacked if they don't win those trophies. So there's that. And then there's the other side that say it has to be the Premier League or the Champions League because of like this weird, we've won FA Cups in the past, and it's all about the big ones also to give more time. It's more of the positive side that want to make it a bigger goal so that there's a longer run up to it, so that there isn't as much pressure on Arsenal, because you can always make the argument that, you know, it's harder to win those, so like give more time. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle where I'm like, we should always, as a Big Six club and Arsenal, we should always be aiming to be in the title race. And when I say in the title race, I mean taking it to the last day if we don't win it, which we did this season. This past season, I said we need to be in the quarterfinals of the Champions League. I think being competitive in the Champions League does mean being in the quarterfinals and beyond. And I think that we did that. And then the other is winning a trophy. So whether that's winning one of the Champions League or the Premier League, which again, those align with being competitive in the Champions League and also being in the title race, that would be covered in that, or winning a domestic trophy. That is the remit from here on out. Now, there's always like if he were like, let's say the next 3 seasons, he won Carabao Cup here, FA Cup here, then of course we'd start talking about the bigger ones. But I think at the bare minimum, you have to start nicking some of these like FA Cups and Carabao Cups if you're not going to win the big ones, right? And that's where I think he failed this past season was, I said at the beginning, quarterfinals in the title race and a trophy, and we didn't get the trophy. And I think what's really disappointing is that we were in good positions in the domestic cups to do that. And sometimes it's like we never really get to the point where we can catch a good team on a bad day. Actually, we did catch Liverpool on a bad day in the FA Cup, and we still couldn't get beyond them. So whether we play against like a championship level team or a Premier League level side, we kind of just don't perform well in domestic cups. And I think that's my biggest regret this season is not at least getting one of those, because I could stomach a FA Cup losing to Bayern Munich in the quarterfinals, which I do think, like, just a sidebar, I think again, it's both sides. It's Arsenal fans that have never really seen us in the Champions League before and completely disrespect other European giants because we're a Premier League team. And then you have the side that pretended like Bayern were no good just to make it seem like if we didn't beat them, it was like a travesty. Like, the reality is that, like, the Champions League is a completely different giant that Arsenal, even with our best teams, never had a good record in. We've never won a Champions League before. So the idea that this team should or was going to just walk in and roll over everybody was complete, like, it was just ridiculous. Like, it made no sense. And I just knew the humbling was coming. The humbling was just so, like, they really thought Bayern Munich were just going to roll over and let us just do whatever, you know? So that's the sidebar. But I can stomach that, like, going out to Bayern Munich, not winning the league. If we had gotten the domestic cup, we didn't. But now there's this new narrative because of Pep leaving that Arteta has to win it while Pep is here. I want somebody to give me a genuinely good reason why that's the truth. Because I keep racking my brain trying to understand why, if we don't win it this season, but we want it the next season, how the parade would feel different, how the trophy would be different. I don't think any of that would matter because Arsenal haven't won the Premier League in over 20 years. So saying that you have to win it in some sort of fashion for, like, somebody's going to have to explain that to me. Somebody's going to have to really get me to understand why we have to win it while Pep is here. I've seen it a lot. And I think if I had to guess what the reasoning is, it's because Arsenal fans that are chronically online know that no matter how we win it, if we don't win it while Pep is here, rivals will say somehow it doesn't matter because we couldn't beat Pep while he was here. I'll tell you right now, I don't give a fuck what rivals say. We could win the Champions League and they would find a way to, like, say that we didn't deserve to win it. Every game we won this past season, there was a reason why we didn't deserve to win it. They didn't have their best player. It was cold on that day. You got more rest. You had this player. The referee was on your side. You got a lucky goal because it deflected. No matter what we do, there's gonna be a reason why. So I don't even know why Arsenal fans are making up this reason, but I want to give at least people that feel like this is true, that Arteta has to win it while Pep is here, a legitimate reason why. That will get me to start understanding, because I don't give a shit. I will be on that plane to London, to the parade, having fun, enjoying that trophy, if we, like, whether Pep is here or not. I personally don't care. So I'm trying to understand where the thought process comes, because the only thing I can think of is because I know rivals are going to say it's not real. But I mean, I can look at several trophies that rivals have won in the last couple of seasons and make an argument why those are not legitimate. So why do we care? Like, we always know that that's the game is the game is the game is the game. Like, who cares? KK says, just friggin' win something. We'll do the priority Premier League still. LMS says that must be the rivals. We are the most hated. John Donut says, I don't care if he beats Pep to do it or not, just win it. That exactly. Like, who cares? Like, I do feel like we care too much about what rivals think. I really do. Like, rivals are fucking annoying, but that's kind of like their job is to be annoying, right? They're trolls. So like, who really cares? But I'm still trying to think like, you know, what is the reason? Can somebody give me one? Saida says a lot of times when a new era begins, the subsequent manager usually dethrones the guy who dominated. So yes, it doesn't necessarily matter, but it would feel more satisfying. And that is something that I can understand. The fact that maybe it won't feel as satisfying to people because the new guy kind of has to beat the old guy. I can kind of see that, when you think about it that way, like the way that like Jose Mourinho came in kind of thing. So I can understand that. Will I still feel like it's legitimate and that I'm going to celebrate? Absolutely. But yeah, beating Pep's bald head would obviously it would be delicious. It would be delicious. It really would be. But if it ended up being the case that he had already left and then the very next season we win it, I still will feel like it's still so hard to win the Premier League, whether Pep is here or not. So there'll be another set of obstacles in front of us. Also, I just want to put this out here to make sure that people like really understand how difficult it is to beat Pep. If you didn't think it was hard before, the only managers that have stopped Pep from winning a league title is Jose Mourinho in 2011, 2012 with Real Madrid, Antonio Conte with Chelsea in Pep's very first season as Manchester City manager, and Jurgen Klopp in 2019, 2020, which if we want to be petty, we can say it was the COVID year. So shit was different. So it's only been 3 managers. Like, again, Klopp has been here for like 8 years. He's only done it once. Antonio Conte, I think things aligned with it being Pep's first season, maybe. Once Pep got going, there was no stopping him. And Jose Mourinho was the other at Real Madrid. At Real Madrid. So like, we're talking about over 10 years worth of dominance of a manager that like is only lost out 3 times. And 2 of those managers I would consider all-timers in Jose Mourinho and Jurgen Klopp. Antonio Conte, I don't consider an all-timer. He's a level below. So it's like it's going to be really difficult. So if Arteta, who's not as, if he were to do it, it would put him in a certain category that only 3 other managers are in, which is outrageous for somebody of his age and his lack of experience. But I also understand that because there's only 3 people in that category, that the idea that a Premier League without beating Pep is somehow like not as legitimate is like I'm not listening. I can't hear you. Like I cannot hear you. Please. Let's be serious. Burmese says, my perception is that some fans believe Arsenal garners greater respect from beating one of the greatest managers of all time. We won't be respected no matter what. I'll be honest with you. We won't. There's not a single thing Arsenal could do to be respected. We won't be. Like it is. There just won't be. I just don't even feel like the respect that people want is not coming. The insecurity of this fan base that feels like they need some sort of validation from rival fans saying Arteta and Arsenal is good, you're not getting it. They know we need it, so they're never going to give it. So I do feel like we also have to like I'm back. I don't know what happened, but again, it happens for about 1 second and then I'm back. So like I said, I will be back. There's also been like some new stuff out from Sammy McBell. I'm not really sure he's saying anything new, but we'll go over that in just a second as well. Tom says that just makes me respect Mikel even more. Johnny D says, I don't need any validation. I just need Arteta outs to shut the F up. If they have no clue about football, that's the only thing that I need. And like, it's the Arteta outers are never going to be quiet. They need it in order to survive. Like either it's survival in terms of like them needing validation and like some sort of like hate of their own life, or they need it in order to maintain their financial situation. So I don't actually think they'll ever go away. I think even if Mikel does win the Premier League, they'll kick up a new thing, where well, he's only won one, so he's still not the guy. Anybody could have won it once. It's a fluke, So, like, like rival fans and Arteta outers work together to always invalidate anything that Arsenal are doing, right? But for me, it's just all about getting that first trophy under our belt and then going from there. My gut tells me that we will win it, but Pep probably won't be here. That's my gut feeling. I would love to be wrong, but my gut feeling is that Pep will kind of need to go first. I think that's when Arteta will be a little bit more ready. And there's just something about Manchester City, like once they click into gear, they make it so that you have like no room for error. And I don't know if we'll get to the point where we just are perfect almost the entire season. I just don't know if it's there, but I really don't care like how it happens. I'll be so honest with you guys. Like it's just not that serious to me. We haven't won the Premier League in so long that no matter when we get it, I don't care. And everything happens the way it's supposed to. If it happens when he's not there, then it happens when he's not there. Victor says Pep domestic league record is 11 out of 14. Mourinho is a monster. Conte was Pep's first season. Klopp was during COVID. Still, though, Pep doesn't win 4 trophies every year, so we have to win stuff. And Victor, that is such a good point that I don't even think it's just so much about beating him to the Premier League. I think we have to also think, having to beat every single season, mostly focusing on beating Pep over a 38 games period is to me not always the best way to go about it, because we end up with nothing. Because again, 11 out of 14 times he's going to win it, right? But not focusing on the fact that he will miss out on at least one trophy. And that's the trophy that we should try to be winning. This season, they only won one. We ended up with none of the other 3. So I think it's more right now about obtaining that first trophy. And from a player's perspective, I know some people are disregarding this as like, it doesn't matter if they win an FA Cup. It does, because as a club, we're probably over winning FA Cups because we've done it in the past. This team has never won anything as a group. They've never won anything. So as much as Arsenal fans are pretending like we've won so many FA Cups, so it doesn't matter, we need the Premier League, for this set of players just getting some silverware under their belt, that's not a Community Shield, right? Like something else, something like the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup or whatever, I do think will lead us in the right direction. I think the longer you go without winning, the more it sets in your mind that you're not going to. And so the sooner the better. And we have a better chance of winning a domestic trophy than beating Pep over a 38 game period, because almost every single season there's a domestic cup that they don't win. But most seasons they win the Premier League. So I'm not saying just ditch the Premier League. I'm just saying that I think we need to get better at making deep runs in cups and giving ourselves a good opportunity to win multiples instead of focusing so much on the Premier League, which it feels like, whether it's on purpose or not, the focus ends up being the Premier League. That is putting all your eggs in one basket that you're less likely to win, just statistically. So I think Victor makes a really good point that there has to be some sort of spread in terms of like, okay, we could get a favorable run. The amount of times I've seen United play dog shit teams all the way to the final, it irritates me. But they stay in long enough where they get that little bit of luck. We go out so soon, it just like we don't even have a chance. And I just want to see us in like a final. I would love to see what we're like in a final. This team has never gotten to one. And I don't even think this team has gotten beyond a quarterfinal. I think we went quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup and went out to Liverpool. And now we went quarterfinal in the Champions League. It would be nice to like get to Wembley or a little bit further in a cup competition. Let's see. MM says trophies give hope. I look at Klopp when he lost the league by 1 point, but also won the UCL, which can push you over the line. Let's see. Burmese says aim for all 4 and see what happens. Stronger squad needed to complete in all comps. Keenan says we have to get a trophy this season or we are going to lose momentum and start going backwards. Players like Saka, Saliba, and even Odegaard will start looking for a new project. James Bond says, why does Arteta have to beat Pep to a Prem before he leaves? Will there be a gold trophy for that? Just win the Prem no matter who's at City, period. Like the trophy won't be any different. I would love for him to win it next season. But more than anything, next season, I just feel like we need to win a trophy, and I don't care which one it is. Because like just only being in that pressure too, knowing that your only route to victory is beating Pep. Once you get to the end and it starts to slip away, I do feel like that's pretty damaging. But if you have something else, like you've won the Carabao Cup or you at least have an FA Cup final to look forward to or something like that, I do think it loosens that stress level. I just think this team just usually has like one thing that they can focus on. And it's always being up against Pep is not always the best thing. Johnny D says City will be effed by their cheating, 115 charges. No way they're going to be innocent of all of them. If they would have to accept the trial way sooner. Blaze says some Arsenal fans are deluded. How can you disrespect Bayern? I just genuinely don't understand the way that Arsenal fans think about European teams or teams that are outside of our league. I don't get it. I mean, the Premier League is the best league in the world because they have the most money and it's entertaining and it's really competitive. But that doesn't mean that other teams are not legitimately good. And basically, once we like drew at home, it was pretty much over against Bayern. Like you could just see like the nerves had gotten to us. We were making mistakes. And that's a Bayern side that had many winners in it and it shone through. So from the manager to the players, like they have multiple players that have won so much. We have a lot of players that haven't won anything. So this idea that like we were just going to waltz in was really embarrassing. It's like, I can tell you guys haven't been there. You guys haven't been anywhere, it's nuts. Absolutely nuts. Concrete Jungle says the Arteta outers make it seem like it's easy to beat Pep, the crying for Ancelotti, but he never beat Pep, so I can never understand their logic. Like I said, I think no matter what, there will always be something. So once you push that out, that the trolls and the rivals and the Arteta outers will always have something. There'll never be a time where they'll turn around and say, you know what? Arteta is a good manager, Arsenal in a good place, and I was wrong about everything. That is never coming. Once you kind of put that out of your mind, then you can just focus on the people that are actually coming from like a real place. And, I'm not saying that every single person that doesn't think that Arteta is the right guy is toxic, but most of them are. And so that's why I'm just kind of like, okay, let's just peel them out. And focus on just like the reality that it is really difficult to beat Pep. Only 3 managers have been able to do it. There's no guarantee that just switching Mikel out means automatically we're going to do something. And I do think it would be a little bit foolish to go into look at the managers that people were picking from this summer. I know without a shadow of a doubt, there's not a single person that was out there on the market that we would want to swap for Mikel. And this is coming from somebody that questions Mikel a lot. Like, I'm not somebody that just blindly says, like, he's the guy. Like, I just know without a shadow of a doubt. I still have questions. But I don't want no Enzo Maresca. I don't like Potter. Like, who's even out there? Deserby. There's no guarantee that any of these guys, again, think the names: Conte, Klopp, Jose Mourinho. Those are the only people that in a 10-year period, 10 plus period, have been able to beat Pep to a league title. You know what I mean? So it's like those names don't say guarantee. Like, they just don't. So I get why sticking with McCallum makes sense, you know, but he needs to also win something sooner rather than later. You know, I was talking to somebody that was like, I don't even know if Arsenal fans would have been happy with an FA Cup this season. I'm like, I think we would have. Taking City to the last day, you know, qualifying for Champions League again, getting to the quarterfinal of the Champions League, the most recent Champions League, and winning a trophy. I don't think it would have been like, oh, this is the best season we could have ever had, but it would have been a more positive season. Like, I don't know how anybody can't see this. It's not just about. I don't think it's just about the just winning the Premier League. Let's see. Saida says the past few FA Cups we've won required us to beat a lot of good teams. We've never really had luck with the draws, so we're a good team. We should be able to beat the others to win a cup. Um, yeah, yeah, and maybe it's an aspect too of like, maybe it's just thinking about ways to rotate just a little bit more in the Premier League. Like, we don't have to win every single Premier League by 5 goals, whatever. Getting a professional 2-0 win or a 3-1 win or something like that is fine. And sometimes, like, the difference between what we were doing, post to buy, and like not is maybe like a couple of different players in the starting 11, but maybe just even being able to rest the likes of Saka and Odegaard and these guys in those games, maybe the margin of victory isn't as big, but maybe they have more legs, are better players to play in those cups where if we get a difficult draw, they can be out there or they have the energy to go about it. Like, there is a mental block with these cups and they need to figure out what it is, because I don't think like just not being competitive in them makes sense or is something that we should be almost like semi okay with. And because the only time we've really taken a cup really seriously was when we had to win it to stay in the Europa League, which was the first year that Mikel was here. So beyond that, they've just kind of been an afterthought, and I don't really understand why. So I think that's something that definitely needs to change. But maybe it's just a matter of kind of like making sure that your players can play. You can play more of your top quality players in the cups in the earlier rounds to kind of get us over, because when you do those heavily rotated ones, they don't perform well, like at all. Like at all. Not at all. Johnny says it's fascinating to me that people think Arsenal can play better than what Arteta makes them play. Sure, they might not use Havertz in midfield, but why would the rest of players play better? Insane. Um, Warren Grant says, but Pep is still beatable regardless. Liverpool showed us it can be done if we get far ahead of them in the league. It can be done, but this is where like likelihood always comes in. Like, I think if you only focus on the one time that it's been done, you'll think that it can always be done, when in the reality it's been 8 years and Klopp has only been able to do it once in a league season where, yes, you got far ahead, but who has ever really gotten that far ahead of them, by Christmas. Um, Even like in our year, where the season prior, where we were so far ahead, by the time we got to Christmas and when we lost to them in at home, they were only really like 5 points below us or something like that. So to have that big of a gap has only happened once. So the likelihood of that happening, even though it's happened before, it's not likely based on the fact that the frequency in which it's happened has only been once. Does that make sense? So saying, well, Pep is beatable is true, but also not really taking into account that it's not really You guys, when I tell you, it happens like every 10 minutes. I woke up this morning and when I was fixing the stream, every couple of minutes, the internet was going out. And I was like, you're going to do this during my streaming. You're going to piss me the fuck off. I just know it. I'm going to be on the phone to Spectrum right after this because I am up to here with this. Because it happens for like 2 seconds. And then I'm like back, but it's like, but like, what is going on? God. Johnny D says you need to reinstall Windows or the net connection is shady. Something tells me that like I have a little theory on like why this is happening. I do have the landline plugged in, but I have a feeling that it's jumping between connections and I have a like I don't know. I have a feeling like it's jumping between or something having that plugged in. Something is not right. So or Spectrum just hates me. Like, so it's like whatever. But we're at 46 minutes. We've almost survived it. So yeah. Samuel says sign difference makers from the transfer market. Coaching alone isn't enough to get you over the line. Jagoon says, just join the stream and first thing I see is Jessica contemplating life. Like, seriously? It's like the fact that it's a black screen on my side, but I'm just like, for you guys, it's so annoying. Burmy says, win every game. And if you can't win, play for the draw. I look back at the Villa game and it was lost in the 84th minute. If we drew that game, we may have won the league. There is just like something going on with us in those games. Like if we didn't score, I guess like the plan is always like score in the first 15 minutes and put the game away. But if we didn't do that, then we would get nervous. And then if we give up a goal between the 75th and 84th minute, we were not coming back. That's just the truth. Like we were not coming back mentally. We just couldn't get up from it. I don't know what that's all about, but I get what you're saying. Just the draw. Villa game was definitely one of them, but I think thinking that Arsenal, like once I knew that we had to be perfect from, December on, I just like when we drop those points, it's going to be all about that. But genuinely not getting any, like not being able to beat Fulham was way worse. But I totally understand what you're saying. We can always go back and say it was this game, it was that game. Maybe it is the difference makers. Maybe when you're in that 84th minute and you've conceded and you look forward and you don't actually believe that the players up there are going to score, maybe you do give up a little bit. But I think, yeah, we need players that are going to pull the game by the scruff of the neck because it shouldn't just be conceding means that you lose the game, Sebastian says, I love Arteta, and if he's the amazing manager we believe he is, then he should be able to win over Pep. Fair enough, Saida says, when Arteta is saying win, 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 I'm not sure if he's speaking to the bigger trophies or all of them. The squad he puts out in cup competitions doesn't reflect this. I could be wrong, though. Wobajog says, just caught your stream. We should stack Arteta and hire the bald manager. Seems like everyone is doing that. Maybe we need a bald manager. Maybe that's just what it is. Ken says, even though the internet is giving trouble, we are still with you. Jason hates me. Defoe says, nothing will make me happy than seeing Arteta win the league in the presence of Pep. Wish Klopp was here as well. So, yeah. But I do think that people that are saying that he has to, maybe it's not so much he has to, but it would just be more satisfying if he does. I think a lot of us kind of agree that like it's not really so much about having to, it's just about the satisfaction. But I genuinely don't care when he does it. I just want him to do it because we haven't won the Premier League in a long time. But also focusing on more than one competition can be really fruitful for Arsenal because you may not be able to beat Pep over a 38 game period, but he doesn't win all 4 trophies, which I think Victor said. So, we should be able to spread a little bit more this coming season. Gina says KDB, Bernardo, Ederson all looking to leave this summer. Now it's now or never. Yeah, Rodri is still there, but I kind of get what you're saying. Like, the turning of like a new, group might give us some sort of advantage. So I do want to read a little bit of the stuff coming out from Sammy McBell. It's not really anything new, so it's like not any new links. I do kind of feel like he just put this out here to just be able to say something, but he says that Arsenal manager Mikel is heading into formal contract talks on course to become one of the best paid bosses in the Premier League, which, you know, we had spoken about earlier. Arsenal are in the market for a new striker with RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko top of their wanted list. And while they are not expecting superstar signings this summer, they will strengthen their squad. Arsenal are likely to face competition for Sesko, their top target, but Arsenal have made overtures and inroads into the Slovenian's striker's camp, and his agent knows they want him. This is not Sammy McBell, actually. This is John Cross. Sorry. They all got like mixed up. Arsenal may also monitor clubs with financial considerations, as Aston Villa are one of those, with Gunners' longtime admirers of Douglas Luiz, but clearly the Midlands club do not want to sell. And Arsenal are being kept updated on the developments over Leipzig forward Sesko's future, while Bruno Guimaraes and Douglas Luiz are among the club's central midfield targets. Any moves for Guimaraes or Luiz could depend on Thomas Partey leaving the club. So hopefully you guys all got that. But in summary, no superstar signings. Sesko is the number one target for the striker position, and it's Bruno Guimaraes or Douglas Luiz, which, listen, I've seen so many different things, but honestly, I would take either one of them over Amadou Onana. Like, that cannot happen. Like, he can be an accompaniment to the midfield recruitment, but he cannot be the only one. I will gouge my eyes out. Like, there's just no way I'm watching that guy in Arsenal's midfield. I'm so sorry. Like, there's nothing about him that screams elite. It's just, no. And if you want to get that profile, you could very much so do that for a much cheaper price with Youssouf Fofana. In terms of Bruno Guimaraes or Douglas Luiz, neither one of those are very likely because neither club wants to sell and they'll both be extremely expensive. So let's see how those unfold. But, you know, Douglas Luiz, it's funny because Douglas Luiz is highly rated by a lot of Arsenal fans. I can see it, but I still feel like I'd be a little bit like, really? Like, this is what we're doing? I think Bruno Guimaraes is better. You guys can let me know in the chat what you guys think about that. I totally get the Sesko situation. I feel like that makes sense for what we talked about yesterday. Kai's form is always going to make a difference in the recruitment and what we're going to go for. And Sesko being like the physical attributes that he has cannot be taught. Like, he can become a better finisher, but his speed and athleticism and size and all those types of things would be really good for us in the Premier League. So, but he's somebody that would also probably mean that Gabriel Jesus would just play on the wing, which then our wing choices would be Jesus, Saka, Martinelli, and Trossard. And I don't really know if that helps us. You know, if Kai starts most of the games and Sesko is a backup, then have we really improved our attack? Not really. We've gotten a backup striker and everything is pretty much the same. I mean, you'd basically be in the Martinelli is a brand new signing territory. So not getting the winger still to me would be damaging. Now, Thomas Partey, I think for sure is going to go. We need to buy a new midfielder. Like, he needs to be moved on. A new midfielder needs to come in. Jorginho signing a new deal, or has already signed one. So, you know, Arsenal need to figure out who they're going to get and go get them. But I think trying to buy from Premier League sides that are going to be fighting for European places and trying to get their starting midfielder is going to be really difficult. So unless Arsenal are really willing to pay, they won't get anybody. And that's how we'll end up with Onana. And so I am a little bit worried. That wasn't the best reporting, but Arsenal just wanting to fill out the squad when I still think there needs to be some surgery on the starting 11 makes me a little bit like, okay, like, we need a starting midfielder and we need a starting attacker. That's genuinely how I feel in my gut. But fair enough. Keenan says would rather sign Tonali than Bruno. Johnny D says, dunno who I want in midfield. All I know is Isak is no better than Jesus, just playing at a smaller club with less pressure, better knee, and worse football technique. I mean, that's a lot of stuff there. Let's see. Blaze says, honestly, nobody knows what will happen in the transfer window for Arsenal this summer. This is why I ignore some of the transfer rumors. Shamaria says he wouldn't be bad for us, but I feel like he's a top 4 level signing. I think you're talking about Onana. Onana is just, it's not, it will like signing Onana, Hato, and Sesko is a dreadful window. Like it's just not taking us up any sort of levels. Onana being a starting midfielder for Arsenal does it reeks like that's just not like I just don't like him as a player. I think he's really limited. So you know, yeah, no, like Sesko being the backup would also mean that we'd start with the exact same starting front 3. And I don't think it's good enough. I think we're missing something. And then just getting Hato, he probably wouldn't even start. So essentially we'd be going in with the same team and plus Onana in midfield. Like, please, like shove me off a cliff. Like just, I don't even want to be involved. Keenan says also Javi Simmons is no better at football than ESR. Listen, that's a take. Shamaria says, that said, we are defo getting one ceiling raiser and it's probably be in midfield. It has to be. Arsenal have to be serious about midfield. Like they have to be all the way fucking for real. Like midfield could change so much about this team, make us even more dominant. The midfield confusion for the beginning of the season was pretty damaging. And so going into next season with somebody that just slots straight in and takes us up a level, really secures Rice and Odegaard is so important. And then figuring out what they're going to do up front. You know, if they really think that Saka, Havertz, and Martinelli is good enough, that's it's just not. It's to me, it's just not. You need to upgrade on either Havertz or Martinelli, in my opinion. But fair enough. Samuel says we need the personnel to deal with those annoying mid blocks. Chris says I'm actually happy with Havertz at 9. I feel like we need to sort out CDM for the future. Super Kai says Onana is basically another Sambi in my opinion, not a level raiser at all. Sesko is an unknown for me. The another player that may be good in a few years, not really a player for win now. Yeah, I'm okay with the Sesko thing because I personally do think that he's one of those in the next 2 years that will be crying that we didn't get. Because the physical qualities plus the finishing, he can strike through a ball. Like none of our players lock their ankles when they're hitting through the ball except for Trossard. Like it's actually annoying. And so having like a true number 9 coming through behind Havertz is the perfect foil for one, being able to move Jesus on and being able to have like those 2 types of strikers, one that's just like a finisher and the other one that's more of like a creator finisher like Havertz. So you would have that secured. Havertz is only 24 and Sesko is 20. That would secure that. It just leaves you in a position where you're not going to upgrade the wing and our winger options kind of stinky. Like we need one more. I really would love for Arsenal to be really aggressive and still bring in the winger, but we know we're either going to get one or the other. And that's just how we operate. So yeah. Yeah, it's for me, it's just yeah. Yeah. There's 200 of you guys in here. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Don't forget the first classic watch along is tomorrow at 8 p.m. UK time. We're watching the 2020 FA Cup final where we beat Chelsea, which is going to be so much fun. It's going to be on TIFO. The link is in the description. I also put it in the chat, and I'll put it in the chat one more time just so you guys can make sure you guys get all signed up and stuff because I'm really excited for this, actually. I think it's going to be so much fun and just a different little bit of content. So I just put the link in there. I'll put it in a couple of times. I'm going to spam the chat. So just in case you guys are interested. Parker the Gooner says, big up to you as well. Shamaria says, I think we'll get a winger, but And somehow in that minute, I also lost like 100 people watching, which has irritated me so much. But yeah, but that's all I really wanted to talk about anyway. So it's been about an hour, and we'll go ahead and get out of here. But I'm gonna have to figure out the internet because it's just, oh, I have 180 again. Great. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Guys, actually, yeah. But yeah, tomorrow, I'm not sure what we're gonna talk about just yet, but we'll figure it out. And I'll try to set it up before the day ends so that you guys can see it and make sure you plan to be there. It'll be a little bit later so that I can force you guys to do the watch along. So just be pre-warned. And maybe we'll talk a little bit more of these links. I'm just waiting for some more. I guess these are concrete links to Bruno Guimaraes and Douglas Luiz, but like we've been speaking about them for years now. Those are two players that we could have and should have already bought. So it's like, okay, we can talk about it again, I guess, but I'd like to see something a little bit new, if that makes sense, but whatever. But yeah, make sure you guys like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff and get RSVP'd for the watch along, the classic watch along for tomorrow. And get in the comments after and let me know what you guys are thinking and feeling about everything we talked about, especially whether or not Arteta has to win the Premier League while Pep is here. He doesn't. But if you feel otherwise, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you're just tuning in, go back and you can watch it from the beginning. Just know that I'm going to freeze a couple of times. So, and I will be right back. So yeah, just fast forward through those bits. Yeah. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'm excited about tomorrow. Make sure you guys are there. See you guys in the next one. Bye guys.